back to the back of the F100. This week has been a busy one. I fully expected to be showing you parts and components that had arrived from the US. However, that didn't quite go to plan. We had some delays with the deliveries and we're still missing a few bits. But good news number one, most of the parts are here and they're actually in the truck bed, which is cool. And then the second bit is it gave me a chance to begin the electrical unraveling, let's say, of the truck. Because as I'm going to mention multiple times in this video, one of the major things and major priorities for me is to make sure that whatever platform I have here, we can add to, we can change, and we can adapt, because I know that months and years from now, I want to be adding and changing things. So we made a really good start on the electrical system, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So what we're watching here is roughly 3 hours of footage that has been compressed down and obviously sped up. I don't need to show you the detail of some of this because it was a fairly boring and monotonous task, but my core intention here was to try and understand the wiring and electrical components that were sat inside of the cab. The main motivation behind this was when I got the truck, the second or third time that I turned it on, I had some smoke in the dash, and obviously I shut everything off straight away and went to find out what it was, and I believe the window motor, which I mentioned in the previous video, had shorted. And as that motor had shorted, it had dragged quite a bit of current through some of the switches, which had then burnt the switches out. So it had a few knock-on effects and sort of highlighted a few weak points in the electrics. So my mission here was to understand what bits were good, what bits I wanted to keep, and just make a plan for going forward. And that is what we're looking at right now. Again, some of the joy in doing this is kind of looking at what's there, deciding what I want for this platform going forward and what I don't want, because whatever I put in foundationally here, I know that I'm going to add to it over the next few months and years. So I want to make sure that the foundations are absolutely rock solid, and this is what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so that was actually pretty successful. So I spent a lot of time sort of taking off the wrapping on the original loom, just trying to figure out where everything was. In the end, I ended up cutting the main source from the battery and from the engine bay, because everything from there onwards is switches, the fuse box, etc. And we're going to look to replace all of that, the relays and whatnot. So then my final job was to try and understand what these 6 wires were. I knew what they should be, but because nothing is labelled where I've cut it, it was a bit of a tough one. So I figured out we got battery, we got the battery and the starter, that's fine. And then there's 4 left, and 2 of them with the ignition and 2 of them with the fan. So I'm pretty sure that I've tracked these through now. And this is the fan. So what I've got is I've got a bench tester here. Just checking, just set to... Yep. And in theory, if we hook this up the right way, we can hear the fan starting. So I now know that these 2 are the fan, which means the last 2 are the ignition. So we have, I'll just knock that off. So we've now identified where all them cables are and how they're sort of threading through. The front of the engine bay looks fine, so I'm happy with all of that. So what's next? So I need to clean up because I've made an absolute mess of this. I've created a rat's nest, that's for sure. So I'm going to take all of this out. I'm going to go around the other side and take out the original loom so that there's no confusing cables left. So that when we're coming to put new stuff in, we're not sort of thinking, oh, is that part of this or what? So I've just labelled up these items. I got this awesome little printer. I'll just show you that. Just got this off Amazon. It was only a tenner, and it's just going to allow me to sort of wrap around and sort of identify which cable is which, so that we don't forget when we come back to change something in the future, which is likely on here. So next up, I'm going to get once I've cleaned up, we're going to get the box out, which I'll show you. We'll show you the relay, and we'll get a map drawn of where everything is going to go. We've obviously got all the auxiliary items now. We've got fuel pump, lights, power steering is going to go in, ignition, starter, etc., and probably a few things that my sort of late night brain isn't thinking of. So we'll do that next. But for now,
this was quite successful. I'm quite pleased with that. I've made a right mess, but we'll tidy that up. And yeah, so I will probably be back tomorrow and we'll go over the wiring box. I'll see you then. We're back. So my plan now is to get all this wiring out. So as I mentioned last time, we've cut the feed off, which is good. So now I'm going to try and get rid of all the tools, but also the wiring that I've cut out, as well as try and disconnect some of this old loom, which I'll bring you around in a second to have a look at. But first, let's get rid of some of these tools. Voila! One wiring loom. Original loom here. We've got cables coming down everywhere, and this is all the original stuff. So I mean, it's not actually in action, but you can feel how brittle it feels here as well. So I'm just going to get rid of as much of this as I can. Insulation everywhere. There we go. Now I'm hoping these are on like a plug. I'll go underneath in a second, which we will come back to. So I guess this that has to be the whole old brake or washer valve. Look at the state of it. See if we can cut that out and have a good look at it. What do you reckon? So yeah, I guess it's the so the Mustang has a wiper, so you can fire your water jet on the floor on the bottom left. That would suit. Or it could be a brake pedal, but it looks a bit big for that. A brake lights. Either way, I'll stick it in the box. It might come handy for someone. Right. Let's take this panel off. This needs to come off anyway, because I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with the display yet, but probably not the original one. We'll do some digital ones now, so we might get a digital set of gauges for up there. Just something else to add to the list. Right, here's all the good stuff. Wowza. I'm going to get you in here in a minute. We can have a good look, because this is just untouched. It's amazing, really. There we go. Look at that. So you can see like where the work's happened. So this is obviously the speedo cable, which has been cut. And then the vast majority of the bits that I've just pulled out then they've not been used for years. So we're going to keep the bezel. So here we'll get this resprayed and sorted out, but you can get digital inset dials. So I think we'll go for that. So I'll probably save the original one. I'm sure that'll be handy for someone. But you can see how this is old school. So yeah, I'm sure that'll be useful for someone. So we'll get that off to the side. And then, ooh. Okay, so it looks like the remaining bits that we've got go straight into the firewall. So I'm gonna have to go see around the other side and see if I can extract them. But I'm just gonna I'll grab the phone in a second and we'll go up close and we can see. Yeah, that's the motor. Where's the light? There we go. Yeah, this stuff is old. Now, one thing I was considering is whether I should save the blinker stick, whatever we want to use. It does seem to be, that looks fairly new compared to everything else. It's definitely been replaced, but I'm gonna have to try and, oh gosh, I'll have to try and figure out which cable that is, because obviously the wheel had other functions. We've got, I don't know, maybe 8, 9, 10 cables coming out of here. So when we pull this out, we have to pull this out for the power steering. We can deep dive that. So I'll cut these as high up as possible for now. In fact, it looks like they're actually on connectors, which is great. So we're just gonna give that. Right, let's grab the phone and give you a look around. Okay, so definitely now a project. As you can see, this is the old loom. The bulbs are from the dash where I've just cut them out. You can see how filthy this is. That we're gonna have to get this deep clean before we do anything, which is fine. Just going back to the steering column, so you can see here the blue cable, which I think is for the indicator, which I'd like to keep really, but when we come down, we've got all of these coming out of the stock. Which, if we look at that, they've been replaced since this loom has. So we'll get the loom out, we'll cut these. I think if we go underneath again, yeah, we can see they're actually all on connectors, so we'll get all of them out as best as we can. Then what else have we got under here? So you can see at the back there, that's the wiper motor here, which is the thing that, you know, scared me the other week when it started smoking. But just look at that. That is crusty. So I'll get that off and have a good look at it. Just need to work out. I'll try and free some of them bolts up. I'm guessing it'll be on the opposite side of here. Yeah, there's just some nuts on the back there, so we'll get that off. And then, sorry, get the light back. And then radio, you can just see peeking through there. We're going to try and keep that. I think that's probably a good thing. But then all the way back there, you'll just see some tubing, which is just under the light there. Some tubing for the vents on top. But again, there's no heater matrix or anything in here, so they're useless at the moment. So we'll just probably take these off for now, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with them long term. We can get aftermarket. We can get some aftermarket heater or blower. I don't see a time when this truck's going to have AC, if I'm honest. So yeah, but you never know. So that's just another thing to add to the list. But for now, let's get the rest of this loom out. Then I'm gonna have to get a Hoover in here and just try and figure out the best possible way to get all of this cleaned up, because maybe this is telling the story of where this truck was and what it did, but it certainly lived a good life. In fact, what's all, if I can put, it should be magnetic, all this here. I wonder if we've had some, yeah, I wonder if we had some friends in here at some point in its life. We'll get it all out anyway. Like I say, this steering column has to come out as well. I've already removed it a little bit. What's this one? Fuel sender. Cool, so probably can hear, but we've got a fuel sender as well here, which final probably piece, this orange wire here, which goes up and over and round. I'll just try and get you in to see, and hopefully you can see here. Let's get you in there. So we've got this orange wire here, which comes round into the fuel tank, and since we're relocating the fuel tank, we don't need to worry about keeping that either. So I'll put you back. Right. So, final bit of the loom looks like it's attached on the other side, which we can go and have a look at and see if we can get off. I've got a feeling from when I saw it, it was jammed in. So let's have a quick look. Okay, yeah, so it joins the firewall, or what's supposed to be the firewall, to the engine, and there's two connectors there. I'm going to just snip them for now because it's right next to the brake, where the brake cylinder is. The brake cylinder's on the other side, so since we're replacing that anyway, we're going to be in that area next time, so we'll address that then. But for now, let's get rid of this loom. Ah, brilliant. Right, so yeah, there's definitely no way that this is the original. So I think, excuse me, I think at some point somebody's replaced all the cables that go through the steering wheel. So we should be able. Maybe actually, these are still pretty old. Not sure if that one's even going to come. Voila! And there we have it, original loom. Oh, okay, there's the original fuse panel as well. Look at that. All them glass fuses. That's awesome. There we go, so we've got fuses, we've got heater, obviously not got that anymore. Radio, definitely broken. Turn and stop, well, it doesn't do that at the moment, but it will do. Instrument panel. The dome light, which again, is definitely not here at the moment, but that's something we can look for. And then the cigar lighter. Which I assume they just mean the cigarette lighter, as we call it. So that's cool. There we go. Just more bits of history pulled out. Ugh. Oh, what I forgot here? Oh, I forgot something. I forgot my cable over here. Aha. That's fine. I haven't really decided yet what we're going to do with these switches. My gut says that we should take them out because these are broken. This is broken. It's had some plastic put in it, and this one's got no hole in it anyway. So we could get these silver plates put in. The only thing that I do want to put back in is the old choke cable is here. Now, amazingly as well, it's still actually here. I don't think it's long enough, and I think it's been cut. It might actually be long enough, but I'd like to, when I get my choke cable put in, because I've ordered one, it'd be really cool to retain that bit in there. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see where we go to. But I think the rest of them are going to blank out. Obviously got the old ignition switch here as well that's long gone. So we'll get that blanked out. But what I need to do now is, what's this one? Oh, more cable. This is the, this had the cables for the brake. stop, brake stop, the brake lights. So I'll pull that through from the other side because we are going to need to replace that at some point as well. For now though, we'll get them in a box, get a hoover, get some of this dust gone. I'm filthy. Cool, it's actually looking a bit tidier now, which was the intention. So yeah, I need to get a cloth in here and get it properly cleaned out. It's definitely showing its age. But another job done. So we've got all the old wiring out now. Just got one thing to pull through from the engine side, which is nice and easy. We've got a. I'll take that out now. I'll just get a screwdriver. The only wiring we've got left in the cab is the steering column, as we're hoping to keep. I just got a negative here on the fuel tank, which I will take off now because, like I said, we're going to move the fuel tank anyway. So I'm going to take it off. It doesn't want to come off. Voila. And just down here we've got the final cable which goes off to the fuel pump, which is just down here behind the cab. Again, not going to worry about that at the moment. We might even reposition that the fuel pump when we get the new fuel tank. So yeah, okay, great success. So I'm just going to go around the engine side now, pull that final cable through, and then we're nice and tidy in here and we can see what's next. Okay, so as I mentioned, that cable is here. This one's actually the lights. This actually isn't the brake one. So that's the lights. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to get this right panel off at some point. I'm going to get more space on this side, and we'll get all of that out because we are going to redo the lighting circuit. The brake one I mentioned before is here, so I pulled that out already. But there's a hydraulic switch on the master cylinder here. But again, because we're going to replace the master cylinder with a dual pot one, it also has a hydraulic switch. We can just switch this out or implement the new one. We'll probably get rid of these older cables and put some new cables in as well. So now that is done, we're wire free, which is good. Yes. So now that we've got this nice and cleaned up inside, we can get a good picture now of what I'm going to do and sort of start to make a plan. So I saw there was a race Mustang that I saw on Instagram or somewhere, and he had a really nice setup with his switches. So I've gone for, at the moment, my theory is to mimic that a little bit. So what I've got, got this rattling electrical box here, and the plan is to put this into somewhere down here, maybe just above the transmission tunnel, and route all the switches there. Like I mentioned yesterday, all of the inbuilt switches we're going to blank off apart from the choke cable. Everything else is going to be removed. So this is the current theory, and then what I can do is I can run all of the cables nicely and neatly out of there to some connectors. So we can remove this and add to it, and then hide all of the cables nice and tidily across the top here. That's the current theory. In a second, I'll show you up close some of the examples that I've got. Now, when I was sat in here yesterday and I was looking at the radio, I was wondering if I've got a toggle switch here. So all of the switches will be these toggle switches, apart from the starter, which has just got a push button. So I was wondering if fitting the switches to the dash, but we'd have to sort of take this radio out and see if there's enough space, basically, see how that's fitted in, and see if there's enough space to kind of put these in place. Because it could be pretty cool to have them running across the dash here. It just depends really on kind of whether I'm wanting to keep some of the original style and hide it away down here or not. So I've got a few things to think about there in terms of where to put this stuff. I'll show you the box in a minute and kind of some of the layout that I'm thinking of. But yeah, what do you reckon? Effectively, anyone got any ideas? Anyone seen any good examples of where to put switches in these trucks? Because now I'm looking at it as well, we've got a third option, and that is if I blank out all of the dash, we could actually replace the space here with the switches. So that's something else to consider as well. So I need to have a bit of a think really about where we're going to do that. But we've got quite a bit to get done before then. I've got to actually do the drawing now for kind of the wiring and run some tests and just go back to some basics on some wiring fundamentals, which I'm going to cover. I also need to get this steering column out. It's partially loose here. I just need to go on the other side and take the rag joint off and pull it through in preparation for the power steering, but also just give me a bit more space in here in the cab. And yeah, that's it really. That's the intention. I'll grab the box now and just show you kind of what I was thinking here, because the main bit about all of this is I want to make sure that whatever I put in is modular. Whatever I put in, I can add to, remove, chop and change. So what I don't want to be doing is fixing stuff in place and then running mad amounts of cable in crazy ways so that it's going to be a pain to manage. So I think taking a bit of time at this phase now will save me a lot in the future, because I guarantee whatever I decide to put in this truck on day one, there's going to be 10 more things that are coming over the next few months and years. So yeah, any ideas on where we put this stuff, how you reckon it should look, that would be great. The final factor really as well that we'll do it is I need to determine what I'm actually going to do with this dash. So at the moment it's like obviously it's a red colour. The doors are a blue. Don't know if you can see them in the shot at the moment, which is quite nice. And the seats originally were like a burgundy red colour. The seats are going to be recovered, and I'm tempted to this is going to get resprayed no matter what, whether it stays red or it could go black, which might work really well, because I could leave the doors in the blue, spray this all round here in the black, which makes black headliner, black seats. But again, these are some of the questions that I'm thinking out loud that I need to make decisions on, and I will do over the next few weeks. But yeah, again, any ideas, anything you've seen, anything you've done, please do send them over and we'll take a look. Okay, so just to zoom in a little bit on the box and kind of the layout of the switches, it's just an electrical box. So we'd obviously we drill we step drill to kind of get a hole in this side and put the cables out just for a grommet, so it'd be nice and tidy coming out of here. And then on the box itself, we've got a little starter, ignition and starter that'll sit probably at the top. And then when I find my toggle switches, it'll just be these toggle switches that will just determine the different events and actions that we need to take. So that's everything from fuel pump, fan override, lights, indicators we do want to get on the stalk, but we'll come back to that. So any kind of function will sort of run on these here. And I reckon I can probably fit maybe 6 to 8 comfortably underneath. Obviously I'll have to see if we've got enough space inside for the wires. The other part of it as well is once we leave this box, we're going to need a relay box as well. So we've got obviously a fuse box and the relays to do, but we're going to put them somewhere, most likely up here on the passenger side, on the right hand side, so they're hidden away. But we'll go into relays and kind of what we're thinking there as well afterwards. But I just wanted to show you kind of the setup for that really. Like I say, cool little toggle switch as well for starting up. Thank you for watching. My name's Liam. This has been Driven by Freedom, and we'll be back next week to do more renovations on the F100. Please like and subscribe to the channel.